Welcome back after the short break. We are still tuned in to Energy 100 FM with your Economy Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. We are talking about the budget today, as we all should know that the Minister of Finance did give us the national budget for the year 2025 to 2026. 24, my apology. 2024 to 2025.
But you say me right, the medium-term expenditure framework runs until 2027.
2027?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
February
we have
2027.
That clear. We have that clear.
24, 25, 26, the
26,
calendar years.
Calendar years.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we went on the break, you did tell us that you will be talking about the direction of where we are going economically.
Okay, Elsaby, hit me over the head if I repeat myself. Remember, I'm getting old. Or hit me over the head when I'm too technical or too analytical, so that we don't lose our listeners or our audience. But it's very important, this confidence thing. If the revenue, according to the data or stats available to the minister, and remember I explicitly said he is very well informed. He knows his department knows what's going on. You know? So if the growth in revenue is somewhere between 11 and 12%, and the forecast growth in expenditure is a little bit over 11%, it shows you immediately that the figures are so reliable that the minister is fully confident that if we get in that more money, we can immediately allocate it in bigger spending. And this is basically what's happening. Because remember, if the economy is only growing by 4.6%, but the revenue is growing by almost 12%, you see there's this almost 7 percentage points disjunct. Revenue is growing faster than the economy. It means that the growth in revenue is driven partly by the economy, but also by something else. And this is when I'm talking about direction.
Yeah.
You know that the Namibian Revenue Agency, NAMRA, has been active, I think, now for 2.5 years. So what it tells you is that, let's say roughly, let's round the figures off, let's say roughly 5% of the anticipated bigger growth of 12% is based on economic growth. We see that in the figures. So where does the other 7% come from? Because the economy certainly is not growing at 12%, but it's growing at a very robust level. So there must be other contributions. And the first one is SACU. The SACU contribution, remember, that's what we call SACU transfers. That is the Southern African Customs Union. That is the organization between Namibia and Botswana and South Africa, Lesotho and Swaziland, where we share. It's also called a common revenue pool. It means that everything that is exported from this Southern African region attracts a certain levy, and everything that is imported attracts a certain import tax. And all of those put together goes to the common revenue pool, and there's a formula according to which we share it. And that formula is more to the advantage of the smaller members than of the bigger member. So if South Africa was nasty, they could just take all of it and say, no, you don't get anything, or you guys too small. Like Lesotho and Swaziland, for instance. 80% of their revenue comes from SACU. With us, it's just over 31%, so slightly less than 1/3, but it is still a very significant contributor. So if the SACU revenues grow faster than all the other sources of income, it means that our cut also gets bigger. And so this is one of the main contributors in the growth in revenue, and it is also very reliable. because it's always based on trade of a year ago. So SACU tells you 1 year in advance, listen Namibia, your allocation is increasing or decreasing by so much or so much. So we can rely on that SACU figure that we get.
Yeah.
It's dependable. It's not maybe. The other thing brings me back to NAMRA. The main contributors is company tax and tax on professional income, and then there's also a significant contribution from. Remember now, company tax is taxes on companies other than mining companies. The law splits the two, and in the mining category, you've got diamond mining and you've got all of the above, or all the others. So these are just the categories within which taxes are collected, and if all of them present a positive picture, solid growth, what you get at the end of the day, if you put it all together in the basket, is that you make up that other 7% that doesn't come from economic growth, and it comes basically from fiscal activity, from NAMRA. So it means that the receiver of revenue is doing a good job. And for the first time in many, many, many years, and the minister actually said this in his budget statement, that's when he announced that we are going to pay less tax, the ordinary folks, you and I. But if you let's quickly make a detour. He increased the tax threshold, the zero-rated tax threshold, from 50,000 Namibia dollars per annum per year to 100,000, and it is due very soon. It will be implemented now. He's also increased the VAT registration from, I think, 500,000 to 1 million Namibia dollars. This is now annual turnover of the companies that have to register for VAT. And he said this will relieve 23,000 small and medium enterprises from that administrative burden of calculating VAT and paying it over and. So these two concessions, what it does is it relieves NAMRA of having to hunt chickens all the time, so that they can go for the big ox, for the really big taxpayers, which are mining companies and big companies, and it's fairly obvious who are the small fry, you and me, and who are the big guys selling diamonds and gold and everything else, it's a small economy. We know who plays what game.
We do.
So that's a very important operational element. Because if if NAMRA has proven itself so successful over the past 2 years to grow the revenue income so much more than just economic growth, then it means that if the minister relieves them of further running after chickens, they can be more efficient in going after the bulls. And this is what we want, because that's where 96% of the tax income comes from the big guys.
Of course.
And a relatively small portion comes from the small guys. So there's a little bit of breathing space for the ordinary working Namibian. And there's also a lot of breathing space for NAMRA as an organization to focus their attention where it matters.
Let's quickly go for a short break, and once we come back, we will continue this talk.